in Mar-a-Lago was spoiled even before Donald Trump could open his mouth last night. And he did announce, as expected, that he intends to run for the presidency in 2024. And no, he has no doubt he will win.
We are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. 2 years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. 2024. Are you getting ready? And I am too. I am too. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Now, in a way, it's easy to say in hindsight, of course he's running again. He's Donald Trump, right? But in at least two ways, historically, it is a curious move. So first, we don't usually see U.S. presidents lose an election, then shoot for a comeback. Last time that happened was 1940 with Herbert Hoover. It didn't work out for him, and it might not work out for Trump.
This is truly a pivot point for the Republican Party. This is a time that Donald Trump is no doubt in the rearview mirror, and it's time to move on with the party. It's time to move on with candidate quality.
You know, the voters have spoken, and they have said that they want a different leader. And a true leader understands when they have become a liability. A true leader understands that it's time to step off the stage.
I think it's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race. And it's like, you know, 3 strikes, you're out.
And that string of dissent from Republicans is the second reason Trump 2024 may face an uphill battle. They underperformed in the recent midterm elections. And for all of those races where they were, weaker than expected, they did particularly badly with Trump-backed candidates. Like many of his picks for Senate lost. Many election-denying candidates lost. And that matters because ultimately Trump's ability or inability to handpick winners affects his influence over the party. So take Doug Mastriano running for governor in Pennsylvania. Lost. Mastriano is a close ally of Trump's, actively worked to overturn the 2020 election results. He attended the January 6th rally that led to the storming of Congress. Also, by the way, lost his race by a whopping 15 percentage points. That is not a small margin. Let's talk about Blake Masters in Arizona. Lost on multiple occasions. He's questioned the 2020 results, even saying at one point that he believed Trump won. And the fact that Blake Masters did as well as he did, losing by 5 points, some think that he has this woman to thank for that. She was at the top of the ticket for Arizona governor. Kari Lake lost, or losing, because though she is behind at this moment in time, it is close enough that there could be a recount, so we'll see about that. But we'd often see, slogans, vote Lake and Blake. Very popular candidate, hardcore election denier, unabashedly ties her campaign to what she describes as a stolen presidential election in 2020. Finally, what to say about Herschel Walker in Georgia? Former pro football running back believes there was nationwide election fraud in 2020, has called for, revotes in half a dozen states. And that race is so tight, it's going to a runoff election in December. So, there's a lot to talk about here, and we can't possibly tackle all of it. So we're going to loop in our Washington correspondent to take us through the top 3 things that he'll be watching for in the coming months. Alex Panetta joining us on the line. Hey, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's talk about the 3 things. I want to start with Georgia, if we could. That runoff happens December 6th, right?
Yeah. So some of Trump's allies told him, don't get involved now. Don't run. Don't announce your run before the Georgia runoff because there are a couple of risks there for you. If you announce you become the central story in American politics for the next few weeks and we lose the Georgia runoff, you will have further undermined your own electability. And that's the first problem. The second problem is you could literally cost us this seat. So, Trump obviously ignored that advice. And do recall that there's some history here. There were 2 Georgia runoffs that decided the fate of the U.S. Senate in 2020. Trump got involved there. He held campaign rallies, but it was all about him, his grievances. He was complaining about other Republicans, and surprise, surprise, Republicans lost those seats. If Republicans lose that Senate runoff in Georgia, which, by the way, is not going to control the fate of the Senate. Democrats have already won the Senate, but if they lose that Georgia race, it's going to further undermine Trump's political comeback.
Sure. And, it's too easy to think of Trump as being the de facto leader of the Republican Party. But tell me about his potential opponents going forward.
Yeah, so Republicans have been looking for a while for someone conservative, combative, pugilistic, doesn't give an inch, bashes the media, but someone a little more stable than Trump, someone who's not going to try to launch an auto golpe after an election, an auto coup, or try to staff the Pentagon with his cronies to keep himself in power. That person appears to be Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis barely won in 2018. All right, he was elected governor of Florida by less than 1 percentage point. And he won by almost 20 points last week. That's an incredible achievement in what used to be, up until recently, a swing state. And some of DeSantis' supporters are saying this is the guy to take Trump out in 2024. And some of the polls are showing that. Trump is probably still the favorite at this point, but his numbers are doing this while DeSantis are doing that. And DeSantis has actually crossed paths with Trump and has overtaken him in some public opinion polling. And, for what it's worth, some of the political betting markets online as the favorite Republican candidate for 2024.
Of course, there's always a bet at stake. Can I ask you one more thing? So the other thing that the Republican Party does have to deal with is this sort of the disparate elements within the party that still believe or say that they believe that the 2020 election was stolen. How do they manage that going forward?
It's going to be a long-term issue. The internet, social media, and sort of other dynamics in U.S. politics are not going to make it disappear tomorrow, or right away. But if you want this element out of American politics, this sort of arguing about elections after elections, if you think that this is a toxic presence in American public life, this has been a great few days for you. Because I counted 6 swing states where election deniers, militia member is in one case, people who were at the Capitol on January 6th, conspiracy theorists, people adjacent to QAnon. These people were running to control elections in presidential swing states, and who knows how that would have worked out in 2024. Out of those 6, here's how many won their races. 0. They underperformed in the same state where other, more normal Republicans won. And what that tells you is there is a certain segment of the American public that is fed up with the crazy and wants the normies in power.
Alex Panetta, always helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.